Hey guys, this is Creatures of the Night podcast, and I'm Wendy.
And I'm Chris.
Chris, I have to tell you.
Yes, Wendy.
I have to talk to you about something very serious. Now, I had this horrible fucking dream last night. And I know dreams are silly and stuff, and we shouldn't read anything into them, but it was kind of bad. So, it gave you that bad feeling when you woke up, which is kind of funny because I was just telling someone that I like all my dreams, good and bad. Like, nightmares don't bother me or whatever because I appreciate the ability to relax enough to like explore your thoughts in your sleep. These are thoughts that typically you just kind of keep buried away. So you're actually getting to like kind of express them and see them. And I imagine for most people like myself, in your dreams, they don't come to you in like these everyday scenarios or scenes, like your emotions and your concerns. They come to you like represented by like a snake chasing you or an albino moose or like dinosaurs that you just see in the background. It's shit so crazy that you wake up and you have to spend like 30 minutes on Google being like, what does so-and-so mean in a dream?
Exactly. Going to work naked. Yeah, you always have these outlandish ideas in your mind, I guess. And when they are put forward to you in the dream state, you wake up like, I would never do that. And you have all of those emotions still like bent up from being like, oh my God, I'm naked. Like, or seeing a dinosaur walking around like, what the hell?
Well, and it's something that stands out to you so much because you're like, why the hell would I see an albino moose? So you're like, that meant something. One time I had a dream about spilt coffee and it seemed like such a big deal about this spilt coffee that I was like, that's got to mean something. I don't even remember. I don't think it meant anything. I don't think I've ever found anything. So like 90% of the time, these things represent like what you're worried about, but you can't control. Right. For me, that's what it is.
Sure, it's those deep-rooted emotions, right, that come forth to you in your dream state.
Right, but it's presented to you in such an entertaining way. It's like, how could you not love that?
Right? It's hard to find a moose, and you found an albino?
I've wanted to see a moose my whole life. And then you find out it just means like you're scared of crowds or something. I don't know.
Oh, no.
But in last night's dream, it kind of sucked because it was me and my kids, and we were on this boat, and it started sinking. And in the dream, someone tells my kids to go get their sweaters or something like that from the lower decks. And they think that if they go really quick, then they have enough time to do that. So I immediately chase after them like, no, you don't need your damn sweaters. But I lose sight of them. And then when I get to like the stairs for the lower deck, I could see that they're full of water. And it continues like with other people pulling me off of the ship before it kind of like floats down the shore and then turns on its side. And then there's like these guys that say that they're going to jump in and go look for my kids, but I'm just sitting there waiting on the shore. So, of course, this is why I hate this dream so much. But I don't have dreams like this very often, which is kind of crazy because I worry about my kids like all the time. But I don't dream very often with them in my dreams and like bad things happening. Now, that doesn't mean I like see this as some kind of foretelling that something's going to happen. I'm sure it's the same old typical like mom worry that just kind of snuck in to this dream.
Right. Just being presented to you in another way.
Yeah.
Just like we were saying, it's like a deep-seated emotion, and it's like, oh, good, she's asleep. Let's fuck with her. There you go.
Ruin her whole night.
I know. Oh, you wanted good dreams? Not tonight.
Yeah. You thought you were going to see dinosaurs and shit? Nope. Right. Your kid's drowning. What?
This is why you don't switch to white wine from red. You only have red before you go to bed from now on, Wendy. Otherwise, bad dreams. I don't know. They do say that food plays into it, like things that you ingest, right before you go to bed. I don't know why. I don't know how. I think that's really interesting. But, some people would say like they always had really crazy dreams if they had like peanut butter and jelly before they went to bed.
And
I'm like, isn't that weird? I'm like, why peanut butter and jelly? Elvis, he was a big peanut butter and banana fan, right? And he would have his sandwiches before he went to bed. Was it because he liked those wild and crazy dreams or because he just liked sandwiches?
50-50. I think he's like, I do like that sandwich, but also those psychedelic dreams. Yay. For me, it's chili. Really? I'd say spicy food, but really I just notice it more so when I've had chili. I have really fucking weird dreams, which I have weird dreams a lot, even without the chili. But guarantee if I eat chili, then I'll have like a weird dream that night.
That's interesting. I eat chili all the fucking time. I think it's because of my celiac condition. I'm like forced to eat chili a lot more often than I should. What do you want? Well, what's gluten-free? Chili. Then chili it is. So, wow. What happens in your chili dreams?
They just get really weird. Like the strangest things happen. I'll have to eat some chili and then I'll write it down for you because I can't just think of it off the top of my head. But that's my experiment for next week.
Next week?
Yeah, but this dream went from being like bad and feeling horrible to getting a little strange. It didn't stop there with me just waiting for my kids. As I'm waiting for my kids, these like two women in old-timey clothes, they just appear on the side of the boat. They just like come out of what part is still above the water and they're just standing there on the ship. For 2 seconds, I think they're like tour guides. And then I quickly realized they're ghosts. And they're talking to me and I'm talking to them. And then as I'm talking to them, I realize I'm a ghost too. So all of a sudden now I'm a ghost. No. Yeah, so that didn't make me feel really good. But instead of just being really depressed about like, I'm dead actually. Instead, I start looking around and I see this hotel that's on the shore. And it kind of looked like the Mizpah Hotel. But I get the idea that I'm going to go up to the hotel to see if I can go inside of it or if like my ghost self is stuck right there on that shore. So I made it up to the hotel. I made it inside. I'm like, yeah, I did it. But all of a sudden this man comes up to me and he's like hitting on me and stuff. He can see me. He's talking to me. He doesn't realize I'm a ghost. And I'm like, what? You can see me? And he's still just trying to hit on me. He's like, yeah, I can see you, baby. And I'm like, no, really, you can like see me? This is weird. So I go walk up to another dude and I'm talking like directly to him and he doesn't see me. He's looking right through me. I go up to another person. They don't see me. So it ends with me rushing back to those old-timey ghost chicks, all excited like, and being like, you won't believe what happened. And I'm trying to open up this discussion of like, how come that guy could see me, but like nobody else could? And these old-timey ghost ladies, they could not care less with what
of course. I knew that's what you were going to say.
They're not paying attention to me whatsoever. It was so much like real life when I'm really excited about some paranormal story or haunted location and nobody but you wants to listen to my shit.
Everyone else is too worried about their fucking petticoats, right? If their ankles are covered or whatever nonsense is going on. That's what was going on with those two old broads in the Victorian era clothing.
Yeah, they were just like, okay. And I was like, what do you think is going on? They're like, I don't know. And they don't care. It's just like, oh, okay, never mind. But that little dream, it's kind of funny because it kind of connects to what my story is on this week. In the sense that my story is about a location that I just recently visited with my family, drug them there in 100-degree temperatures.
Oh, no.
It is a historical location, so, it's like me trying to show my children the world, right? But, I mean, they knew that we were pretty much just there because of the ghosts, so they were very close to hating me.
Oh, no. No. Wait, they would have been okay if it was just for the history?
I mean, maybe. I think they might have been more okay with it when I was like, this is a piece of history. We all need to learn it. But they know I am only interested in running into a ghost. And they're like, could there have not been a better place that wasn't 1,000,000 degrees outside with ghosts?
Jeez.
See, that's the difference. They're like, you couldn't have found like a haunted place inside with air conditioning?
With air conditioning? Well, air conditioning drowns out the ghost voices, as we've learned. So, nope, you have to be outside. If they're outside, we're outside. It's just how it works.
It's just the way it is. And maybe the location won't be busy since it's so hot out.
Yeah? Was it less busy?
It was less busy.
Hey.
I don't know how it is other times because it's the first time I've ever been there, but I'm assuming that there wasn't a lot of people there because it was 100 degrees outside.
Well, I am really excited to hear about this location because I only know two places that you went, and I don't know anything about them being haunted.
What? Are you being serious?
Yeah, the antique store and the Great Wolf Lodge. Were those haunted? Are those haunted places?
Yes. No, this was a while back, so I guess that you're just forgetting. You did know that I went to this place.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't discuss anything. You just knew I was going there. So my story is on the Yuma Territorial Prison in Yuma, Arizona.
Oh, yes. I totally forgot.
Hey, that antique mall is haunted, though.
Of course it is, because loads of antiques. I was actually like getting excited. I was like, it's got to be the antique store because I only knew that you went to Great Wolf Lodge. And I mean, we are the only ones that are going to have a haunted Great Wolf Lodge. It's in Nevada when we can buy that place and make it one. But yeah, the antique store's haunted. Did they like pull you to the side and they're like, hold on,
no.
You think that doll you're looking at's haunted? Let me tell you about this $100 chair over here. And you're like, hold on, let me phone my friend.
She will fall for this. No, that antique mall, which is the 22nd Street Antique Mall in Tucson, Arizona, I went there looking for a haunted doll. Didn't get any vibes from anything. It is said to be haunted. There's some local groups that have gotten to investigate it. They've even hosted like public ghost tours there, which of course not recently or anything. It's been years since I've seen that advertised, but it was on the news once.
Love that. I love it when the news gets involved.
It wasn't like on Mega TV, but probably sometime during the month of October, they were like, there's a bunch of old shit in there. I'm sure something's haunted.
Well, that's just how I feel about most places too. So
I always get like at some point in time, I usually start to feel sick inside antique stores. But the day that I went there looking for a haunted doll, never got that feeling. So
that's the vibe that you were talking about not having.
Yeah. I stared a lot of dolls in the face. And none of them
winked at you.
I did eventually get a haunted doll. When we went to Great Wolf Lodge, I took a little outing and found a doll that kind of spoke to me. And she was cheap. So if she's not haunted, then it was still worth the effort.
It was still worth it. And by spoke to Wendy, she means that doll looked at her and said, hey, I'm haunted. Take me home.
She said, get me out of this place. You see that 50% off sign, don't you?
I put on my special green velvet dress today just so that you would pick me up and take me home. Now let's do this. I know you like green.
I do, actually. And she's pale in the face. I'll give you a picture so we can post it on social media. But she doesn't have a name yet because I honestly wanted to spend some time with her and ask her to tell me her name, just if she already has one. So we haven't done that just yet. We're just getting to know each other by looking at each other right now.
She's getting your vibe. She understands that you're a podcaster. You have her as a subscriber, I'm sure.
She has her own account. Left a phone next to her just in case she wants to text me throughout the day. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Oh my gosh. That would be great. That would be great.
That would be awesome. So yeah, no, Great Wolf Lodge, pretty sure it's not haunted, but I did find my doll in Scottsdale near the Great Wolf Lodge. And then the antique store said to be haunted, but I have never gotten a vibe in there at all. So anyways, back to the story for this week. A couple of weeks before that, we went to the Yuma Territorial Prison in Yuma, Arizona, the hottest place on earth, I believe.
Hell is what you're telling me this was.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was a prison too, so fitting.
Yes. The prison is situated on a bluff overlooking the once massive Colorado River and is a short distance west of the remaining buildings that served as part of the Yuma Quartermaster's Depot, which I sent you a couple of little pictures from that were quite entertaining, so we'll have to share those. I didn't read anything about the Quartermaster's Depot is supposed to be haunted, but like I said, there's a very interesting doll, actually, in that place and a picture that was quite funny. So we'll have to put those out there for everybody to see. So not much remains of the depot. It's just a few buildings. It isn't that large, but if you're ever stopping in Yuma, it's worth a look-see. It's got a lot of history on the city, which pretty much began with the thriving communities of the ancestors of present-day Kutchin and Copa tribes along the banks of the river. Then in 1540, some 80 years before the Pilgrims set foot on Plymouth Rock, Spanish expeditions began traveling through the area. They noted that the natural crossing of the Colorado in this particular spot was a good site for a potential settlement, but they pretty much left it undisturbed for years until the Spanish established a mission directly across the river in 1683 and began trying to convert the local native people.
Wow, 1600s, man.
Yeah. So for like 80 some odd years, the Spanish expeditions, they traveled through there, they explored it, but they left everybody alone. And then finally somebody was like, this would be a good spot. Well, it didn't work out so well for them. I mean, they were there for a long time, but around the time in 1774, when Yuma was then put on like maps of New Spain, Spain started to kind of push into the area. They wanted to control that Yuma crossing, and they were trying really hard to convert the Kutchin people, but it led to a rebellion. The Spanish settlement was destroyed and many Spaniards killed and taken captive. So the remaining Spanish retreated. They got the fuck out of there, and they never tried to fuck with them again.
Okay. Done and done.
They scared them fucking straight. But by the time that Mexico won its independence from Spain in 1821, a number of mountain men and other explorers from Mexico and the United States moved into the area.
I love mountain men. They're my favorite.
Things only got wilder when Yuma began to experience the American westward surge, when countless immigrants crossing by ferry from Yuma to California to get to the gold fields in 1849. A year later, a military post was established. Then, just 8 years after that, rich placer gold strikes began along the Colorado River. So Yuma just experienced a huge boom after that. In 1871, Yuma was incorporated and became the county seat of Yuma County. A few years later, the Territorial prison was authorized by legislation to be built with a budget of $25,000, which I think back in that time sounds like a lot of money, but they seem to cut corners in a lot of places. So I'm not really sure what they did with that money.
Oh, they pocketed it. They paid their help really well, or, they lined their pockets with it. And they're just like, and $5,000 for the rest of this place. Everything else is mine.
So, like a lot of prisons that we've read about before, the actual prisoners were the ones that took part in building the prison.
Yeah, that sucks.
So they're not paying their labor, of course.
Sure. Yeah. Real cheap labor is what you're telling me here.
They broke ground April 28, 1876. Then the first 7 inmates moved into the facility in July of that same year. And once the main cell block was completed, it was maybe 2,500 square feet total, but made to house some 200 convicts at one time, with 6 men or women to a cell, with bunks on either side that were 3 high.
Yeah.
And I didn't see ladders on these bunks either. So my kids were like, how'd they get up? They didn't say bunk. Sorry. They were like, how'd they get up to the top? And I was like, it's climbing, I guess. I don't really know. Maybe they're boosting each other up.
That's so funny. When I was on the USS Salem and there were cots that were stacked in similar fashion, it was just three in a row.
Yeah.
So when I was showing my husband these pictures, he's like, man, it would have been, I guess, best to have the bottom bunk, right? And I'm like, no. Man, can you imagine being on the bottom bunk and then every time, second or third has to go pee in the middle of the night, their feet are coming down right in your face. Right in your face. You're trying to sleep and here's some feet. So, where would you stand? Where would you want to be in the
top, for sure.
On the top bunk?
Yeah. I'll climb up there. I'm good. I mean, every time they move, you're on the top. You might be a little like, I'm about to fall off this bench. But it's better than having the fear of the bunk collapsing.
Coming down on you.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
The middleman might be okay, but the bottom, I don't think so.
Yeah. My fear would be that I would roll off because I am a mover and shaker in bed. Yeah. I do a lot of tossing and turning. So that would be a hard fall.
Yeah. 3 bunks high? No.
Yeah. And she's dead. Well, we opened up a slot. This one's empty, guys.
That might have been their goal in that situation. I don't know. Yeah. They also only allowed the inmates to take showers once a week, which was on Saturday. Something to look forward to, I guess. They had buckets for bathrooms, just 1 bucket per cell that was emptied out only once a day.
Bet it smelled good. You know how when SpongeBob sees Squidward smells on the side of the trash can and he writes good underneath? I mean, oh my God. They only got to shower once a week.
Yeah.
And they had 1 poo bucket, everything.
Yeah, everything.
And that emptied out how often?
Once a day.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, I would do anything to not be a prisoner there. I would be so straight-laced. I mean, that's horrible. I go to the bathroom so often, man. I wake up in the middle of the night to pee. I mean, I was just talking about the bunk situation because I'm considering, pee breaks. Man, that's rough.
Yeah, so everybody in your cell would hate you because they're like, you're taking half the bucket.
Oh, shit. Old smelly Mike again. He's at it. Just something about Mike. I mean, I get it. Everyone, it's been a week, so we're all getting ripe. But that Mike and him using up all the bucket privileges, too. Jesus.
I can't imagine they actually gave him toilet paper, too. So
it gets worse and worse.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't read anything about that. But, I'm just assuming this has got to be somebody had to take a sleeve. This is bad.
Bad. So these people lived out their sentences, or did they? I'm sure they had some kind of disease then. That's just nasty. People don't live like that.
Yeah, it was not good. However, oddly, in the early days of the prison, it was actually ahead of the game in a lot of ways. Like, it had electricity before the town itself had electricity. It had one of the first hospitals in town. It was also the first building to get air conditioning when that became a thing, but not in the cells, just like in the other buildings, you know, the warden's house and things like that.
So electricity, was that because they were electrocuting some of these people? Is that like, we gotta... No.
I don't think that was a thing. I think that just the warden and the guards and everybody that was there, and then that you get the hospital. It's the first hospital. They need electricity for these kinds of things. So it was the first place they invested money in.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that they got air conditioner. They were just like, man, it is rank. Can we do something to... And they're like, yeah, turn on the air. They don't get more bass. They're just like, and now it's cooler.
Right? They're still using that fucking bucket. But the guards are all like, woo!
I know.
Great.
It feels so good when I lift up my pits and I put it right in front of the air conditioner too, guys. You should all do this. The smell is just...
There was also a local woman that was hardcore about the inmates needing like education and stuff. So she petitioned and raised money and got the prison one of the best libraries in town. So at least the prisoners had that.
Yeah, I bet they were studying up on all the diseases and things that they were passing around, huh? And uncleanliness. I bet that pissed them off. Well, okay, that is really sweet that they had a super awesome library. I mean, if you're in jail, you got nothing else to do but read.
Yeah, while you sit on the bucket.
On the bucket. You didn't have your cell phone back then. No, you're borrowing the book from the library on the bucket, and you have to use, your sleeve. Oh, God, I'd hate to be the person that touches that book afterwards. There's Mike again. That was the book I wanted. Fuck you, Mike.
But everybody's doing the same thing, so it's just like...
Yeah, spreading it around. You can see who rented it last by the smears on the book instead.
No, that's gross.
I'm sorry. That's where I go with it.
Like poo fingerprints on there. It's nasty.
They didn't have a library card. They just had poo smears.
Oh, you put your poo print. That's gross. This is gross. So, even though the prison was no cakewalk for the inmates, the locals nicknamed it the Country Club of Yuma.
Damn, really?
Yeah, because they were like, we want fucking electricity and air conditioning.
They were totally overlooking all the rest of that shit that was horrible.
They missed some steps in there. You have a bathroom, right? They do not.
Right? No, these guys are using their sleeves or rocks or leaves, whatever's hanging around.
There's no leaves.
No leaves.
No.
You got to drip dry or you got to shake it off. I mean, then they're calling it a country club. Wow.
Yeah.
Some country club. That's the one I can afford.
So from 1876 to 1909, the prison housed 3,069 men and women convicted of crimes in the Arizona Territory.
Damn.
People had committed crimes ranging from murder, larceny, cattle rustling, and horse theft. One man was locked up for seduction under promise of marriage. Yet, there were others that were in there for killing people and, say, cutting their heart out and shoving it in their face. So, a variety of people.
All walks of life. You can apparently go to jail for being a seducer, for wrestling cattle, and for cutting out men's hearts.
Yeah.
Got it.
That last one, very problematic.
Yeah. Holy. Just to go back, did you say that was a total of 3,000 some odd number of men and women sharing this jail?
Yes. Over time.
Oh.
Not at one time. But, yeah, in its course of history. So one of the most famous male convicts was Buckskin Frank Leslie, who was a character down in Tombstone, Arizona, about the same time Wyatt Earp and his brothers were down there.
Oh, yeah.
Old Buckskin Frank was made famous for killing Billy Claiborne, one of the infamous Clanton gang, who feuded with the Earps. But that wasn't how Frank ended up in Yuma. No, Frank was a bartender at the Oriental Saloon, but he preferred to spend his free time at the Birdcage Theater.
What's that place?
What? What is this place? Sounds fun.
I freaking love how this all connects. This is like
it's Arizona. It's like it's a small town, but not.
Not.
There he met a young singer by the name of Molly Williams, and before long the two were living together. From the beginning, Frank and Molly's relationship was pretty much based on their mutual love of whiskey, which led to frequent and violent fights.
Oh.
Yeah, they were fun, I bet.
Oh, shit.
On July 10th, 1889, the violence escalated. Frank shot Molly in the head, which she died.
God.
Yeah. But this was witnessed by another man who Frank then also shot, but that man survived and testified against Frank. So Buckskin was sentenced to 25 years in the Yuma prison. However, after serving just 7 years, Frank won parole with the help of a young divorcee named Belle Stoll. Once he was released, the two traveled to California and were married. How the fuck did he even meet her?
Yeah, right. And also, what about that guy that got shot? Like, that sucks so bad for him. Come the fuck on, man. This shit pisses me off so much. That poor guy.
They say that Frank might have killed like up to 14 people and that he was always like bragging about it. And he was a bit of a kind of like dick around town, basically.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like it.
So I'm sure this guy had finally had enough and he was like, I'm taking you down. I mean, but 7 years, this place was really crappy. So like literally.
He did his due time there.
I don't know, not for killing 14 people. And then how he got to just kind of ride off into the sunset with his young wife.
Yeah, to California.
Complete horseshit. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. Sounded like he probably had a rough 7 years. I hope he learned his lesson.
Yes, right. Slap on the wrist for you, sir. Go on.
Now, the prison had a variety of infamous ladies, but probably the most well-known is stagecoach robber Pearl Hart, who is credited with committing the last stagecoach robbery in the state of Arizona. However, that's not actually true. There was someone else that actually committed the last stagecoach robbery, but I guess Pearl's story was better for the history books.
Whoa. So hers was spicier, so they're just like, overwrite this history crap. This one we like.
Never mind that one. It didn't count for some reason, I guess.
Bummer for that one.
Yeah, I know. Well, Pearl Hart was a petite and attractive, well-educated woman, born of a respectable middle-class family from Lindsay, Ontario, Canada. But at the age of 17, she fell for a guy named Frederick Hart, and they eloped. But it didn't take long before their relationship just started to go terribly wrong. He was a horrible provider. He was drunk all the time. They couldn't make ends meet. So in 1893, the couple travels to the Columbian Expedition in Chicago, Illinois to find work.
Wow.
While there, Pearl was enthralled by the Wild West shows that she would see, and she even saw Annie Oakley perform. So she's fallen in love with this shit. Plus, she attended some speeches made at the World's Fair Women's Pavilion by people like Julia Ward Howard, who was like a prominent women's activist and poet. Inspired by all of this strong woman type stuff and the Wild West, she soon mustered up the courage to leave her abusive, ratty husband and board a train to Colorado. But she was pregnant already. So she had to tail it back to mom and dad's place for a little while. But as soon as she popped that baby out, she couldn't get the West out of her mind. So she's like, I need you to take care of this. Wow. And then she moved to Arizona.
So was her parents still in Ontario when she had the baby? Wow.
Yeah.
So she left the baby there and went back to Arizona?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would have, not to say anything against my child, but damn, the freedom to just be like, here, Ma and Pa, take over this. I got some shit I got to take care of out in Arizona. Peace, and just...
I'm sure she spends it to them like, if you'll just watch him or her for a little while, I'm going to go make some money. I mean, I saw in these shows that I can make tons of money. I'm going to be right back, okay? I don't think she had any intention of doing that, though.
Wow.
But some time passed while she's out west, and she realizes it's not exactly the same way as she saw in her Wild West shows. And she was having a bit of a hard time making ends meet.
Shit.
So after Pearl receives a letter from home that her mother is sick and needed money, Pearl decides to spice things up herself. She hooks up with a miner named Joe Boot, and she looks for him for advice on how to make some quick cash. And Joe is just full of some ideas for Pearl.
Wow.
Their first scam was kind of an obvious one, I think. They were going to use Pearl to lure men back to her room in the thought that there was an opportunity for romance. But then Joe would jump out, knock the dude over the head, and then they would take all of his money.
Okay.
However, before they started carrying this out, they kind of started thinking, and they were like, that's a lot of work for not a lot of cash. We don't even know how much money these dudes have in their pocket, if any.
Yeah.
So then the pair conceive an idea that they're going to rob a stagecoach. I feel like it was a big jump from that to this, but whatever. They thought
skipped
big.
The beginners, the trial era. They're just like, nope, go big or go home. Let's do it.
Do it. So they decide that they're going to hit this stagecoach up between Florence and Globe.
Okay.
To get ready for the heist, Pearl cuts off her hair and she dresses in Joe's clothes. And on May 30th, 1899, they carry out their plan. They jump in front of a train with their guns drawn and they order the driver to stop. As Joe keeps his gun on the driver, Pearl ushers all the passengers off the coach and they empty out all their pockets.
Okay.
In total, they got $450 and a revolver. So, that's way better than hitting up one dude, right? The pair order all the passengers back onto the coach, and then as they are kind of riding away, they fire a gun to let the driver know you can go now.
Yeah.
But with all this planning that they did, the couple did not prepare for the fact that they were not very familiar with the surrounding desert hills.
Oh, shit.
I'm sure it's a lot of mounds of dirt that look exactly the same.
Did we turn left at that cactus or was it that mound of dirt? And I think I've seen that critter before. So we are in the right direction. I am positive. I'm positive.
So they ride off, and after a couple of days, they still don't really know where they're at. They make camp in a grove of trees, and they build a campfire, and they fall asleep. And then they wake up to the sheriff.
Of
and
course.
His posse.
Wow. All of this for $450 and a revolver, huh?
Yeah. If she was smart, she would have gotten somewhere and mailed that money off real quick so that it would at least help her mom and her child that is still there before she got caught. But I'm sure she didn't do that.
No.
So they were taken to the Globe jail where Hart played up this lady bandit role. She was, signing autographs and she was entertaining people with photos or something.
Wow.
Selling herself as the bandit queen. So I think this is why she's remembered as the last stagecoach robber and not the other person because Pearl sank into this shit.
Okay.
A few weeks after her capture, she escaped from jail, growing the idea of this badass bandit lady even more.
Yeah.
But her freedom was short-lived, and the law soon caught up with her, and she got returned to jail.
She got lost in the desert again. She's like,
Probably.
no, was it that cactus or this lady?
I feel like I've done this before.
Directions are not her thing.
If she's like me and she doesn't know her east and west and all that jazz, then that could be a problem.
The sun wasn't up quite yet. She's like, there's no shadows. I don't know.
So after a couple of trials, because she had won, but then it didn't go very well, she got off basically. And then they tried her again. She finally was convicted and she was sentenced to 5 years at the Yuma Territorial prison. But that didn't slow her down. She became even more of a celebrity while she was in prison. She entertained visitors and reporters, and she posed for pictures.
Hell yeah. She was going to live it up. She was the badass bandit chick, so she's, that's what she's doing now. That's her thing.
That's her thing, for sure. So after 18 months in prison, she was paroled, and then she moved to Kansas City, where for a time she profited on this fame. She even wrote a book.
About how she got lost in the desert?
Yeah. She probably left that out.
It was a lot like Lord of the Rings. However, there was a lot of walking. Man, that's why she profited off that book, huh?
Yeah, but it was over with really quick. So she must have been writing that book as she was riding the train back to Kansas City or something. Because her fame kind of faded real quick and then she just kind of disappeared out of the public view.
Wow.
Now, while Pearl Hart may have gotten the red carpet treatment in prison and Buckskin Frank found love, others were not so lucky. When the convicts acted up, the results were swift and severe, and there were horrible forms of punishment.
Huh.
One was a ball and chain attached to the ankle for those who tried to escape. Another was being housed 24/7 in a small cage exposed to the elements within the prison yard. And remember, I said Yuma is like the sun, basically.
Hell on earth. So the ball and chain made it really hard for you to have that top bunk, is what I'm... That sucks. Hopefully someone was cool and let you swap.
Like tradesies. They probably weren't. They're like, no, fuck you.
No, get your ass up there. Good luck.
They just sleep on the floor next to the bucket.
Man.
But for the real troublemakers, they got the dark cell, which was a cell built into a rock wall with 2 solid metal doors so that no light whatsoever could come into the cell.
Oh.
On top of that, the prisoners were placed inside of a cage that was 5 feet high and 10 feet long, and then they were chained to the cage as well.
Wow.
The only light that could come in was from a vent that was in the center of the room, and the prisoners were expected to live on 1 meal a day of bread and water.
Man.
Also, just to make matters even worse, before they put the inmates in there, they stripped them down to just their underwear.
Well, at least they had that. Did they have a bucket? What did they have to pee and poop in?
You know, they didn't say. I'm assuming they would give them a bucket, because who wants to clean that stuff up if it's all over the floor? But the inmates that the guards truly hated, people say that they would drop like snakes and scorpions down the open vents.
No. Look, that was the first fear that came to my mind when you told me about this being in underground. And I'm like, no. There's no way. There's no way. Even it's in the desert, there's no way. And then I was like, and there's this one hole that has light. I'm like, okay, there's a way. And then you're like, and get this.
Yeah, they did it on purpose. You know, look, so when it gets cold, the snakes would like it in there. So forget even guards dropping them in there. The snakes would just want to go in there for warmth. Scorpions 100% want to be all up on that stone. So they could have just been in there on their own. Never mind like somebody dropping them in.
Did you get to see that? Is that still there?
Yes, it is still there. And it will tell you this. So I went in there and everything was fine, or whatever. It's daytime, so it's not as creepy, I guess. But I went into another cell and there were 2 beds. They're not bunks. They were just 2 like little tiny beds, you know, in this small room. And I swear I heard something move or make a sound, and I flew out of that cell because I thought it was a fucking snake underneath the bed or something.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
It was like my phone vibrated or something.
Yes.
I scared myself. There was nothing in there, but that was my biggest fear, was the snake situation.
Well, you tested out them running sneakers.
So it said that for some inmates, after they spent their time in the dark cell, they just went straight to the insane asylum in Phoenix, which is also said to be haunted, by the way. When I went to Great Wolf Lodge, we did a drive-by of it, but it is on the grounds of a prison that is in use. So you can't get there.
Near it.
No.
Gotcha. I bet it is haunted. Those insane asylums have a lot of bent-up emotions just trapped there. I mean...
And isn't that awesome that they're using it as a prison on top of that now?
No. Man, it is tough being a criminal in Arizona.
They're not fucking playing.
No.
So after the Yuma prison closed down due to overcrowding, all the inmates were moved to a new facility that's in Florence, Arizona, which I also found online is said to be haunted. It is still a active prison, so you can't like investigate it unless you commit a crime. But there has been reports coming out of there that there's all kinds of ghostly activity in that place too.
Wow. So, like, you wonder if the inmates turn to paranormal investigating as also a means of passing their time. They're just like, well, I can't talk to my family. How about you, Hank? Are you here with me?
You know, I would do that. I don't know how many inmates are necessarily doing that. But so back to the Yuma prison. Once it closed down, it was occupied by several different groups over the years. After Yuma High School burned down, the high school board rented 4 of the prison structures and used it from 1910 to 1914, during which time the school athletes team became known as the Criminals.
Nice. Oh, I like that. The Criminals.
That's cute. Then the county hospital utilized the facility from 1914 to 1923. But in 1924, the Southern Pacific Railroad demolished the western 1/3 of the prison hill to make way for new tracks. The homeless riding the trains and whole families that were left homeless during the Great Depression started to use the cells of the prison as shelter. Most of the town saw the prison as a major eyesore, but others saw the value in preserving its history. And in 1939, local residents began to raise funds to renovate the guard tower and construct a museum out of the old mess hall.
Nice. Yes. All right. I love those historians. They're always saving stuff.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Then in 1961, the Yuma Territorial Prison State Historical Park opened to the public. It became official. But what the park rangers and guests soon discovered was that many of the inmates had yet to finish their sentence, as paranormal activity is commonplace up and down the eerie corridors. The most common report is the overwhelming sense of unease within the cells, just as if you're not alone. But some have also heard soft strumming of guitar music drifting through the air, and a lot of them believe that that's the old prison band.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Park manager Mike Gurton believes while some of these unexplained experiences are mild in nature, there are a few spots within the prison with bad energy. 22 prisoners total met a violent demise within these walls, and their spirits seem to refuse to rest until justice has been served.
Okay.
Most note 3 specific cells within the prison that are notorious for the paranormal activity. The first, of course, is the dark cell. This pit of despair, which was reserved for the worst inmates, gives most visitors who enter an immediate urge to a speedy departure.
Okay.
They
Get
just
the fuck out.
don't like it in there. Once a staff writer for Arizona Highways wanted to experience what prisoners went through and attempted to spend 48 hours in the dark cell, shackled to the ring bolt with only a jug of water and a loaf of bread. The reporter fell short of her goal by 11 hours, insisting that she felt she wasn't alone anymore and she was no longer safe.
Oh.
However, surprisingly, the most prominent ghost in the dark cell might be that of a child, not some like rough inmate. This ghostly phantom is said to get a kick out of pinching and poking and touching people with her icy fingers, but typically only does this to people wearing red clothing. Many psychics touring the prison have felt the little girl's spirit and believe that she may come from one of the families who found themselves homeless and living at the prison. There's also a local Yuma legend of a female wandering up and down the banks of the Colorado River. Llorona. No, they think this is actually a mom that's looking for her drowned daughter. Don't trust it. The legend... The legend says that many years ago, a little girl in a red dress trying to retrieve her doll from the river fell in and was carried downstream. Many connect the two stories and believe that this is the very same little girl that drowned in the river that she returned to the prison where she might have once lived.
I don't know. I'm feeling your La Llorona there. Yeah.
Do not fall for it, man. The second most haunted cell in the Yuma prison is cell 14, which when you visit, the cells are not numbered. So you either need to ask somebody which is cell 14 or just know that they say it's somewhere at the end of the corridor. You know how I don't like people, so I didn't ask. And I just kind of hung out at all the cells at the end of the corridor. This cell was occupied in the early 1900s by a John Ryan. And John was disliked by not only the guards, but also other prisoners. Mr. Ryan was sentenced to Yuma for a crime against nature, which many associate with some kind of sexual crime. So it can be taken as if it was some kind of violent act against a woman or a child. But more recently, there have been people that have kind of been reviewing this case and digging a little deeper. And they believe that maybe John was just in prison because he was gay.
Oh, that's fucked up.
That is fucked up. And considering how both parties hated him so much and that he didn't finish his sentence, he actually committed suicide in his cell with a makeshift rope from his blanket, I would lean towards that too.
Yeah, that's awful.
Park employees have stated that they become very uncomfortable within the area near his cell, or they feel like an icy chill, which in Yuma, that should never be happening.
Yeah, no kidding.
The third most haunted cell is a space that is actually walled up now, so you can't actually see it.
Ooh, why'd they do that?
I don't know.
Oh.
Because it's super... I'll just tell you a story. I'll just make it up. It's where they house the mentally ill patients, so you know it's just crazy in there. You'll get just your head ripped off if you walk in there. So that's why they did it.
Yeah, okay. So they walled it up. No more heads getting ripped off. Sure, okay, yeah. I buy it.
In the 1930s, a tourist caught an image of a ghostly man in a photo while standing in the doorway that led to this cell. So I can send you that picture. It's not great. It's from the 1930s. We don't know a whole lot. Maybe that's a real person back there. I don't know. But they're saying that there was nobody supposed to be in this photo except for the lady wearing the black coat. And so then there's obviously someone in the background.
I love these. So, and this is from what time frame?
The 30s.
1930s? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought you said. So, like nowadays, and this sort of thing happens all the time, you'll see like GIFs or GIFs, however you want to say it, like of people that are just standing just a little too far to the left or too far to the right, and they're like brushing their teeth or something like right here. And then all of a sudden in the mirror, there's something like, right there. Just they've given just enough space so that something will appear. I don't think that people were doing that back in the 30s. But, it just kind of reminds me because she's standing there. She's just, kind of posing, for her picture in front of what seems to be like a blank wall. And then all of a sudden there's like creepy dude, maybe holding a rifle, just like in the background.
Yeah, I totally see the rifle situation too. And yeah, I don't know. They say it's legit. They've gone out on the news and whatnot and said, look at this, but we weren't there, so we really don't know.
Yeah, totally. It's cool though. I mean, you could see like a head, but it looks like he's got like a bandana covering his face too. Like he was prepared for COVID back then in the day. He's all like, he's wrapped up, but you can see what looks like a little bald head up there too. It's an interesting picture. Really interesting.
What if this was just one of those townspeople that wanted to clean the prison up, and this is like one of the homeless people living there, and they're like, get off my property, and they're like, no, we're gonna make this a museum.
Yeah, right.
And then years later they're like, look at that ghost.
Oh my gosh,
why would it be that way?
Look at her face. Clearly there was nobody else around her. She's just all happy and smiling, taking her little picture. I think she was, honestly, she's in all black too. She was a ghost hunter. She knew what she was getting herself into going there.
That fur coat is full of equipment inside of it.
Loaded. Back in the day, SLS.
Yeah.
Back in the day, K2.
Dowsing rods, all kinds of stuff going on, I bet.
Yes. I love this picture. This is great.
So, of course, these cells aren't the only area where ghostly activity occurs. Assistant Park Manager Jesse Torres says that he once heard a voice that he thought was his coworker, and it said, "Did you get it?" So he goes to find this coworker to respond to them, but then he realizes he's in the museum all by himself. Then there are other accounts of muffled conversation in vacant rooms. Witnesses have seen things out of the corner of their eyes. They've heard a woman singing in the visitor area early in the morning when nobody's there. And there's a ghost that likes to stay just in the gift shop. They call him Johnny. They say he's harmless. He likes to play with coins in the cash register, but he never touches the bills.
Just the coins.
Yeah. He's probably like doesn't know what paper money is or something. I don't know.
Oh.
The prison has hosted about half a dozen film crews over the last few years, including the Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures and the BuzzFeed Unsolved team, who both spent the night there.
Ooh.
BuzzFeed had a pretty big night because Shane actually admitted to hearing something strange.
Oh, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So the prison is kind of by itself. It's on that bluff, and there's not any other buildings around it. So when Shane and Ryan are completely alone, and then they hear footsteps, I guess Shane just really didn't have any other excuse for it. So he was just like, yeah, that was weird. That was the biggest reaction that you would get from him. Everything else that happened, he shot down. Like, they've got some spirit box responses that seemed random to me. They got some EVP responses, not all of them really audible to what they were saying. And the dark cell didn't really scare him except for the massive amount of bats that like to hang out in there, which they even warned us that there could be bats in there, but we did not see any of them. When Ryan had to go into the dark cell, he called them devil birds.
Oh, that Ryan.
He's adorable. But I think they really may have gotten something in the gift shop because they got this loud, deep, creepy voice. Couldn't make out what it was saying. I don't think they ever even said what they thought it might be saying, but it was loud. So it had to have come from that space.
Shit. I just knew immediately because you said it was in the gift shop that it was like, do you want this in a bag? You know how everyone is these days with plastic. So I just assumed.
Yeah. But if it was Johnny, then I don't know if I necessarily would say he's harmless because he's got a raspy, deep voice. But maybe it's just he was a smoker. I don't know.
Probably.
So that episode is worth a watch, just like all their episodes, because they're entertaining. But also watch the Ghost Adventures investigation because they got a lot more action. Though, but I will warn you that there are those like moments in all Ghost Adventures episodes where you kind of roll your eyes, like Zach randomly asking if the spirit there was a demon out of nowhere. Nobody said anything about demons beforehand. I think it's just something he regularly checks everywhere he goes.
He's got to check it off his list at least.
He's just checking. Are there any demons here? No? Good. All right,
Okay.
Moving on. Also, Zach and Aaron are playing back EVP sessions, which just doesn't happen a lot on Ghost Adventures, but they were freaking out that they were hearing voices. And I swear to God, I couldn't even make out their voice in the recording. Whatever they were playing back sounded like our episode from a few weeks ago, like they were under fucking water.
Underwater.
So I don't know what they were freaking out about. It really annoyed me. That doesn't happen with them too often, though. Usually their recordings are pretty good.
Pretty nice, yeah.
Maybe my ears were clogged watching it. I've been sick lately. I don't know.
It wasn't one of those Sweet Olympus recorders, was it?
No, his Panasonic one.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
It is a good one, but I couldn't make out anything that was going on, and they were just freaking out. Whatever. Also, this one was annoying. Having been to the location, at one point they hear this female scream. It is very loud. They wig out. What is that? And they look all around, even like trying to look around the prison walls. And they claim they saw nothing. So they're like, wow, what could that be? Yeah. This prison is right next to a busy street, like an interstate or something. It's a busy roadway that's right above it. Not to mention right below it, there's a park where people can just walk along the river. This could have been anybody, and they don't mention that.
Suspicious.
Which we see this on a lot of shows where they film the location just so it looks like it's all by itself in the middle of nowhere. And then we go and
it's
book
like,
a tour,
wait a second.
and we're like, there's a fucking McDonald's right next door. What's happening here?
Yeah, Villisca. I mean, I didn't realize it was like butting up to other houses. And then also creepy people come up to the windows in the middle of the night all doing like this shit.
That was the worst.
Yeah, you don't see that sort of thing on the Travel Channel. But you're right. Take, for example, you've got the Clown Motel directly behind you, right? I've seen this on Ghost Adventures, and I see this in other people's pictures because it's just that one little section. But, I mean, how many feet do you think you had to walk to get to the road, the busy fucking road?
Yes.
It's
the
right
only
there.
road in Nevada.
In and out. You're right. And it's a happening road. So, I mean, like, it's crazy how the shows, they do film them in such a way that makes you feel like, wow, it's just out there in the middle of the desert all alone by itself.
No noise contamination. Yes, there's plenty of noise contamination. But there was some legit stuff that happened during their episode, and that's what we need to focus on. Never mind that silliness. So at the start of their investigation, they bring in a Yuma resident. Her name is Patricia Lynn Cody. She claims to have a connection with John Ryan. Like she had visited the prison before and she had this experience and she felt it was him. So they bring her in to do an EVP session.
Cool.
They're standing in cell 14 and Patricia asks, how did he even hang himself? Like, she's not even trying to ask him that. She's just making conversation with the Ghost Adventures team because the cells are like completely stone and the ceilings are really high. So then they get this response on the recorder that says the gel post up, which I don't really know what that means, but it does seem to be a response to her questions. And it was clear, so that was kind of cool. Then later on, they see an orb float behind Aaron's leg, and this is right as he's starting to feel sick.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they played that great music. I love it when they play the orb music. That, ooh, you know, it's a weird kind of jolting music. Did they do that?
Yeah, of course.
Of course they did.
Then at another time, Zach and Billy hear a cell door move. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And then while Zach is in the dark cell, he says he felt someone like touch his hand. And at the same time, in another part of the prison, they are hearing footsteps. But the best thing that happened to them was when they were all gathered in the like command center, or whatever they call it, which is inside the museum area. And they're just kind of sitting there and they start to hear like old timey music. And they're like, what is that? So it stops, but then all of a sudden, like one of their lights that they use starts acting up, like going in and out. And they're like, it never does that. So they're over there looking at the light, seeing if there's something wrong with it. And they realize that it's right next to the display case in the museum about the prison band. And they had just heard that music.
The music. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Right. So all of this is not very far from a theater that's in the museum, which now you would go and watch a little video on the history or whatever. So they take the SLS camera into the theater and bam, there's just 3 figures mapped on the stage, and they're moving around like they are playing instruments. And I took some screenshots. You know, obviously you're not seeing the movement, but it was so cool because how often do they map so many figures at one time?
At once? Oh.
And then when you watch this video of it and they're moving around, it's really neat. And then to make things even cooler, they say, raise your hand just to see if it'll respond. And 2 of the figures raise their hand. Yep.
I really like that their SLS not only maps each of these figures, but it puts them in a different color.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. So the second picture I sent you is when they say, do a little dance for me. And then a completely other figure pops in.
I see it off to the right there, yeah.
Yeah, and it's almost kind of like it's not on stage, it's in front of the stage. And it's like moving around all erratic like it's fucking dancing.
Oh my God. Did you hear the music? Were you able to hear it?
Yeah, you can hear it like with your own ear. Oh, like not while I was there, but in the show, yes.
In the show you could hear it?
Yeah.
That's crazy that they, not only did they catch this, but they also got some of the music and the audio.
And it's just all connected, leading them in there to see them. So that was a real impressive experience. It's worth it to watch the show kind of just for that. If you want to just fast forward to the end, that all happens right at the end if you want to do that.
That's cool.
So while I was there, I took plenty of pictures in this little theater. No ghostly figures appeared for me. So we drove around Yuma to hit up some other haunted locations since we didn't get like a huge thrill out of the prison. So some of those places are the Gandalf. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. It's a theater. It was built in 1917. It, showed plays and movies there. And it was also the meeting place for the Elks and the Freemasons.
Huh.
Until on the 3rd floor, there was a fire and it burnt it down. Probably during like some creepy candle ceremony, I would imagine.
I would imagine, yeah.
But now there's a coffee shop there on the 1st floor.
Lovely.
Yeah, that's why we went there also. It's the North End Coffee House, and some of the employees have said that they've heard just random voices when nobody else is there. Like one of them noted one time they heard a hello, so they kind of come out thinking that there's a customer, and there was no customer.
Or there was, they just couldn't see them.
Oh, and then when they weren't taking their order, they probably got pissy.
They probably said some other things then too.
They just missed that. We also did a drive-by on the Hotel del Sol, which is a massive, sadly boarded up building. You cannot even look in the windows, but it's very pretty. Some local investigators have claimed that you can catch EVPs on the sidewalk around the hotel, which I did not make an attempt to do because there was some people that have already kind of claimed that sidewalk as their home, and I wasn't going to invade their space.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah. But back in the day, they used this hotel to make a few movies. And while shooting there, people had reported that they had picked up voices by unseen forces on their cameras. And they also saw some things move around on the set. And some of the crew refused to work there after that.
Wow.
Lastly, we stopped by the Lyric Theater next to the Lutz Casino, or technically they're all one building. Lutz Casino owns the whole thing, which is apparently full of all kinds of paranormal activity such as shadow people, audible voices, poltergeists, visible orbs, apparition, people being possessed, lost time, and scratches on the skin. Just a plethora of things.
Yeah, damn. Everything.
Yeah, everything.
It's
It's all here. Well, the Lyric Theater dates back to 1909 and was also featured on Ghost Adventures, but there's not a lot of history on the building itself to explain why it's haunted. The Lutz Casino is one of the oldest casinos. It's a restaurant now, blah, blah, blah. People say that a medium lived in the hotel that's above the theater back in the day and that she probably opened some portal, but they got no name. They got nothing. So people are just making this stuff up that fits with the activity, it seems like. So the investigation was kind of strange. Yeah, they heard some sounds like knocks throughout the night all over the building. Plus, they received high EMF readings in random spots, and they heard loud voices, like with their own ears at times. And they were really creeped out by the building itself. It's a mess in there, so that alone would just creep you out.
Oh, okay.
Everyone that they interviewed on the location gave them the impression that just pure evil lived here. People were saying that they had been possessed and that they got these scratches. They also claimed that they got EVP names of demons. But in the end, Ghost Adventures had most of their intelligent activity around a toy doll. They left there honestly thinking that maybe, just maybe, this once, it was actually a child spirit haunting the place and not a demon in disguise.
Did Zach go in and ask, first of all, just, go through his checklist? Is there a demon here? And, that sort of thing? No, he didn't do that?
Oh, they definitely did. They constantly were like, what evil is here? And got no responses on that kind of stuff. Yeah. At one time, they claimed they got this EVP that they think is saying something about God or the devil or something. But I heard the name Madison. So I don't know. Like, I wasn't even looking at the TV screen. And I hear it and I go, Madison. Because I think they asked, like, who's here or who knocked on that wall? And I thought it said Madison, and I look up and they said, God is evil or something. I don't know. And I was like, I don't hear that at all.
They need to get a better speaker then or something for their speak and spell or whatever's going on there, because somebody's translating this wrong for it to come out one way on TV and then come out another way for their box to spell it out for them or for them to hear whatever's going on there.
Yeah, I think it was like a spirit box response too.
It was spirit box?
I think those are hard if you're not standing right there over the machine. I don't think they come through on TV very well. So I'll give him that benefit of the doubt. But I thought it said Madison. So I think Madison haunts the place, everybody.
Yeah. And you said it sounds like it's a child spirit anyways.
They even said that at the end because they had gotten a voice earlier in the day where the spirit was asking for toy cars. So they brought toy cars. And then they had all this activity around the doll. And yeah, it was even Zach in the end that said, I don't know, maybe it's actually a kid. And that's hard for him to admit, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. He's looking for demons wherever he goes.
He's like, motherfucker, who sent us here? You guys lied. But the theater and the hotel that's above the theater has been closed down since the 70s. So sadly, I have no personal poltergeist experiences to report back to you. We did get ice cream at the casino, though.
Nice. Was it haunted ice cream?
Yes. I felt so funny afterwards.
Like full and cold.
And as far as the Yuma prison goes, like I said, not a whole lot happened there. We were able to tour the place, get all up in the dark cell, experience the whole thing, and none of us had any paranormal experiences.
Wow.
I did get lots of pictures, though, that we will share on our social media this week, which is COTN Paranormal on Facebook and Twitter, and COTN_paranormal on Instagram. However, I completely fucking spaced while at the location and did not take any video. I'm the worst. I was so mad at myself. So if you're looking for video on the place, then I recommend just going to YouTube and typing in Yuma Prison. You'll see a handful of videos of people just like me that took day tours that do complete walkthroughs of the place so you can see what it looks like for yourself. Like if you live far away and you can't come here to Arizona to visit, that's a good way to kind of experience what we're talking about.
That's cool.
For paranormal evidence, I recommend checking out Ghost Watch Paranormal's channel on YouTube. They have several pretty clear EVPs from this location. However, the EVPs are accompanied with a still photo and there's no description underneath. So I cannot provide you any more information on their EVPs. I don't know their backstory. I don't know how they were getting to investigate the place. Was it a day tour just like me? Or was it a private thing? I don't know, but the EVPs are pretty good, so it's worth a listen.
Cool.
And while you're on YouTube checking out all these other people's stuff, don't forget about your girls here, Creatures of the Night crew. You can find our channel by searching COTN Paranormal or just clicking one of the links in the show notes. Hit that like and subscribe button so you can see all our podcast videos, plus our weekend paranormal adventures. Chris has been going on a ton of them, so you'll see a lot of fun things. Mm-hmm. That is when we remember to record them. That's more for me than her. So you can see Chris's paranormal adventures, maybe not mine. If you like the content we put out, then support the show by rating and reviewing and visiting our shop, The Spirit Emporium, which is on Etsy. We sell podcast gear like t-shirts and everything. We also sell spiritual products, which are great for protecting yourself while you are on your own little paranormal weekend adventures.
Yeah.
And that's all I have for you.
I thought that your Yuma Territorial prison episode was really fascinating. I totally spaced. I know that you said that you were going there, and even when you were talking, because you were like, I sent you pictures. I'm like, where are these pictures? Like, I can't find them in my phone. I don't know what happened to them. They disappeared. So I'm going to need you to send me those pictures again because they're not there. And I don't even delete my text messages ever. I tried to do a search for them. They are not there. So maybe there was some paranormal aspect to you going, and it's in the transfer of pictures from you to me because they are not here anymore. I was just like going desperately through my phone, like, where the hell are these pictures?
That's so funny because I know you did see them because you responded to them.
Okay.
But yeah, your phone ate them.
Yeah, it did.
But I'm glad you enjoyed the story. I'm glad that, we hadn't spoken in like a month. So it's kind of like I surprised you. Bam.
Yeah.
You remember that time I went here?
No, I don't. I don't even remember these pictures. Now that I just got the pictures from you, I'm like, yes, I did get that. I totally remember this doll.
Yeah.
That's something that's like nightmare fuel. I mean, I remember this thing.
And she's behind glass, and all dolls behind glass must be haunted.
Yes, as we've learned.
They're caged up for a reason.
That's exactly right. Because they bite. They got to stay behind glass. No, I loved it. I also love that you went and did a little further exploring of the town to see a couple of other haunted places. May they be abandoned and boarded up. And though you cannot get into them, it's still awesome. I mean, that's why I drag you all over New Hampshire to be like, this crumbling place might not be here next year. When do you have to see it in the woods? I mean, you don't know. Someone might say, this is an eyesore. Let's tear it down. Let's knock it down. It's causing blight. It's causing this and that. So you got to visit it. It's there for the history, even if you can't get into it, and just put your own eyeballs on those sorts of things. So I got to live through it vicariously through you going and putting your eyeballs all over it. Hopefully you'll have some more pictures to send me of those places so that I can see it too. So no, I loved it. Thank you for that. That was a great story.
You're welcome. Well, were you going to say something else?
I was actually.
What were you going to say?
I was going to ask if you minded if I did a plug of a paranormal group that reached out to us.
No, I don't want you doing that. No, I remember that. Wasn't that a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, it was. And I told him, I said, we're not recording for a while, so it's going to be a while before it goes out.
I'm glad you let them know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Who were they again?
So Nest Point Paranormal reached out to us. They're a paranormal group out of the UK, of all fucking cool-ass places.
Love it. Best friends forever.
That's what I said, too. They were so cute. They reached out to me, just kind of chatting it up, and I'm just like, hell to the yes, because if we ever make it to the UK, then we can partner up and we can investigate some of these places. So thing is, they sent me a picture of a cemetery. They were ghost hunting, and they're out in the cemetery at night. And they were like, just take a look at this picture. What do you see? Because this is a picture that has divided our group. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, well, let me take a look at it. So let me send you this picture.
I cannot wait. This is awesome. There's like turbulence in their life and they reach out to us to solve their problems. No, I'm just joking. I'm sure they probably asked a lot of people's opinion on it.
They probably did. But it was so like we are the relationship fixers in their group. So I just sent Wendy this picture. They took this outside of a cemetery somewhere in the UK, and it's a really weird picture. First of all, you'll notice that there's just tons of shit floating around, orbs or dirt, because they're outside. They're kicking this stuff up, I assume, into the air. But when you look at it a little bit harder, which is what I did, I see something that appears to be kind of squatting around the side of the corner there of the church. You see it?
Yeah, for sure. I saw it right away. There is a lot of other little, it's like it's foggy or something. And then there's the blots of, dew or whatever in the air. But because you see arms and you see legs, and it's almost like he's got white boots on or something. Mm-hmm. If you zoom in, you start to see an old man's face. Like almost very clearly. I can see his beard, his mustache, and he probably has a beard underneath that because it all looks white.
Yeah,
and I see nose and eyes and forehead. Now, the body shape with that head is not very proportional. So, maybe I'm seeing something. It just doesn't fit. His body would be very wide, the arms, it's just, that's what I see. I don't know what to tell you.
No, that is crazy because I saw the exact same thing. Of course, I went right back to him and I was like, yeah, I do see this, what appears to be something squatting around the corner there of the church. And the person reached back to me. They're like, that's crazy because, half of us do not see that. And half of us do. And I'm like, yeah, immediately I saw it. And, Wendy pinpointed that it's a little disappropriate. Who knows what happens to you in the spiritual realm? I mean, you're a spirit now. You're no longer flesh and bone. I mean, maybe, your head stretches out a little bit. Maybe you still have that beard, but it's just that your face is, elongated or being, I don't know.
Yeah, I might be including other things to widen out his body too that are not actually a part of his body. I mean, maybe that's a tree trunk or whatever in the background that I think is the rest of his arm, because now I see actually where this other thing could be his arm. What is the strangest is it looks like he has got a belt buckle or whatever.
That's what I see too. Yeah.
It's so prominent that I'm like, oh my God, what is this belt buckle? Because it is huge.
It is. Look, I see this as sort of like a larger man with this huge belt buckle. And maybe he's not squatting, but maybe he's just actually, he's kind of shrugged over. He's like, I'm so tired. I just can't even stand up anymore. He's like, ugh. And his arms are just hanging way down to his knees because he's just like, ugh, God, why? Oh, man, there's people here. Now I got to go hide behind this church, Oh,
I'm starting to think, what if that's an arm, like curved? It's like he's holding his belly. Maybe that's not a belt buckle. Then maybe that's his hand.
It's this way.
And that's why he's kneeling over, like, oh, my tummy.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Oh, maybe he died from a stomach wound.
Something. I think it's a good photo. I can see the problems involved with it.
Yeah.
Out in the elements, there's already a bunch of blotchy stuff because of the elements. So, it's not one that you're going to go to like the news and be like, we did it. This is this
Here it
guy.
is. Evidence.
Look at it. But this is interesting. And it's worth holding on to and saying this could be something. Investigate that location more often and look for this guy or see if he'll talk to you. Was that you in the photo? Is your tummy okay?
I know. Is your tummy okay? They are still hitting this spot up. I know.
I would imagine.
They're on Instagram. They even have a cool YouTube channel. Like I said, they're Nest Point Paranormal. I watched some of their videos. I love the picture and I love that they reached out to us. I thought that was super cool. I hope that they did a solid and extended that olive branch because one day we'll be out there and we want to investigate with them and maybe we can go here and check out this guy. Maybe they'll have some more information for us in the future. But yeah, I thought that was cool. And I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to them again for doing that. There's not that many paranormal groups. It seems like here recently I've had a few more, groups that have just been a little bit more friendly to us. And I don't know if it's just because of the times and people being caught up in their houses for so long. They're like, God, all these people on Instagram, let me just try and talk to them.
Yeah.
But, before when Wendy and I were breaking ground as paranormal investigators, it was few and far between that we actually found other paranormal investigators that wanted to share their evidence and say, hey, what do you think about this? They were just like, that's my evidence. And we're not going to share it with you.
Like you're going to take it from them.
I don't want it.
Yeah. Like they're afraid of what you might say. But I think people are a lot more open with it now. And then, during this whole pandemic, we've talked a lot more with other paranormal groups. And that's been cool. That's the whole reason that we do this is to, communicate with like-minded people.
Yes, exactly. I took the paranormal groups a lot like you take a fisherman. And when a fisherman has a spot where he's constantly able to get fish, he's not going to tell a fucking person about that spot. That is his spot. So these other paranormal groups kind of seemed like, you don't need to know about my location because it's like some trophy, and we're not there to actually capture anything. We are there, to kind of experience it so that we can make more believers out of other people who aren't, these things, they happen, they exist. And we just kind of want to spread the word. That's all.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you like that.
I love that. Thank you so much for remembering that. Because you totally shared it with me and it was
right out of my head.
Totally forgot. But that was really cool. And now we are done. Bye.
Goodbye.